Hey, we got another money guy on on here. He's from TikTok. He has over 500K on TikTok. Make sure you check him out over there. And he's gotten to the life insurance game and the importance of financial stability and how anyone can gain that. Right? He didn't always start off in that space, but then he transitioned over. He's also invested in some real estate. He's really doing some really big things, man. Make sure you go check him out. Love y'all.
Don't rely on your employer group life insurance coverage. There are so many horror stories out.
There's a saying.
Hey guys, we need to talk about the inverted yield curve. You guys need.
Welcome back to another episode of Important Miscellaneous Talks. I am your host, Glassfield Crossfield, and we are changing the world one podcast at a time. Our wonderful guest, please introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up, guys? Mark from Nashville, Tennessee, representing Money.Smartz on TikTok.
Got you. So, explain to the people what exactly you do.
Absolutely. So, I came out of the ministry background. I was a youth pastor, youth minister for 10, 15 years. My wife and I ran a ministry out in Connecticut, New England area. And we had a major shift in our life. We moved to Tennessee. We have a big family, about 6 kids. And so we wanted to kind of change gears a little bit. And so we started into the financial services industry. We went and got licensed in the state of Connecticut, and I'm licensed in 30 other states to offer people the benefits of how to leverage life insurance for not just the death benefits, but for the living benefits while you're still alive. So financial services is my main thing right now. That's what I'm focusing on.
That's wonderful to hear. Were you met with any backlash or ridicule because him and I are also Christian, and sometimes it seems as though, especially the old school Christian, wants you to either remain middle class or poor.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's funny you brought that up because that's the mindset of most middle class Americans right now. The rich people are bad, middle class and poor are, good, or they're struggling because, it's not about which class you're in, man. At the end of the day, it's about your heart, right? You can have a billionaire that still is moral in what he acts upon and thinks upon and ethically works correctly, and he loves people. But then you can also have a poor person that hates people, and so which one's better? You know what I mean? It's not about the money. I have a podcast with my best friend, and we just talked about it's the love of money, the lust of money, the greed of money that holds you captive and that keeps you bound. But money's just a tool, man. It's amoral, right? So it's not good or bad. It's just a tool, and it magnifies what's truly inside of you. That's 100% what I believe. But to answer your question, yeah, I did get a lot of backlash in the beginning when I was starting out. My brothers and sisters in Christ in the church were kind of like, well, what are you doing? You came out of ministry to do what? Yeah. And so they almost want you to stay held back where they are and not move forward in life. And so my job is to bring as many people as I can with me where we're going to the top.
While transitioning, being where you are now, are you still actively involved in the church?
Oh, absolutely. So right now we're in transition finding a home church, but I'll tell you what, man, you can take the man out of ministry, but you can never take the ministry out of the man. And so although I'm not an official youth pastor, youth minister right now, I have 6 kids. So I'm a youth pastor and minister to them. I'm the pastor of my household. And so I'm teaching my kids the way to go and the way to grow in the Lord. And I'm teaching them success and entrepreneurship at the same time. So, every conversation that I get into somehow has something to do and brings me back to my roots of just, at the end of the day, loving people and just trying to help them become better. That's just what that's my DNA. That's what's inside of me. So we're looking for a church right now, but no, I haven't left ministry at all.
What made you want to get into ministry in the first place? Do you feel like it was a calling on your life or something that you was led to do by God in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. So my father's a minister back in Connecticut. He has a fairly decent sized church for the Northeast. And so I grew up in a ministry. I grew up in a ministry household, pastor's kid. The typical pastor's kid, I'm sure you guys are familiar with, goes the opposite direction, right? They don't want anything to do with the church and stuff. And they run away, right? That's typical for ministry kids. And although, I had my ups and downs, I stayed on the straight and narrow. I stayed on the path, and kind of went into ministry. I followed in my father's footsteps. So it was kind of like, like I was being trained at an early age to kind of take over and go that direction. But at the end of the day, my dad always said, son, you can do whatever you want to do. You're not forced to go into ministry. But, that was just what I decided to do. Out of college, I could have went into the Navy, or I could have went into the ministry, and I chose to go into Bible college and become a youth pastor. And so I did that for 15 years, and I loved every minute of it. So, but I do believe it's a calling. Yeah, absolutely. But even though I'm not in ministry and I'm in the marketplace helping people with money and finances, I'm still being used by God in people's lives in everyday aspect.
Yeah, I'm a peak as well, so I know the feeling.
There you go. So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, I'm the opposite of you. So.
All right. That's all right. Hey, there's no judgment, man. Everybody has their own journey. You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
Yep.
Where would you say your financially focused mindset comes from?
From being broke. From growing up broke. Growing up bouncing from house to house with my single mom. I grew up, my parents were teenagers when they had me. It was 17, 18 years old. My mom dropped out of high school, and she just did the best she could. But she had her own demons she was battling with as well. And so I just remember growing up from house to house, living in the East Coast, in the New England area. We lived like right next door to the projects. And so, people like, you're from the Bronx, you said?
Queens, please.
You're from Queens? Okay. So maybe the projects in Connecticut may not be the projects in Queens or Brooklyn or any of the boroughs, but for us, we lived on the poor side of the street. We grew up, just struggling. Just everything was a struggle. And so I remember those days, and I said to myself as a teenager going into college, then as a youth pastor, I said, I never want to be like that. I never want to give my kids that taste of what the struggle is really like. So I've always had this entrepreneur journey inside of me from a kid moving forward. And I said, I will dig myself out if it's the last thing that I do. Blood, sweat, and tears. I'm going to make it to the top. And so that was kind of my ambition and my goal the entire time. And so I've had failed businesses. I've done many, many things over the years, but finances and people are two passions of mine. When I started working in the life insurance industry, helping people, bridging that gap, man, it was the best of both worlds that came together for me. Helping people, I could sleep at night knowing that I served somebody, and I could make a decent living doing it at the same time,
What would you say is the biggest financial lesson that you've learned?
Oh man, there's so many. How can I say just one?
Give me three.
You know what? I just did a TikTok on this too, and I did a YouTube video that I'm editing right now. It's the two things that will help you with the gas price struggle and inflation are, number one, making more income and lowering your taxes. How do you make more income? You get a side hustle, a side gig, side job, side income, right? Your 9 to 5 pays the bills, but that's not going to give you the life that you desire. You have to have something, especially in today's day. You have to have another side income coming in order to make it, right? So making more income, you could be selling sneakers out of the back of your car, selling t-shirts, flipping houses, doesn't matter what you do. Get that extra income coming in to live that lifestyle that you desire. And number two, lowering your taxes comes with owning a side business, because as a side business, you're a solopreneur, you're an entrepreneur, you can actually take tax write-offs at the end of the year, even as a sole proprietor, which means you don't have an LLC. Everything's going through your own social security number. I can write off my car, I can write off my cell phone, I can write off my internet bill. So that's how you lower your taxes. Get a side business and work with a good accountant.
Do you think that all side businesses should be legal?
That all side businesses should be legal?
Yeah.
Yes, I have to say yes, absolutely. They should be legal. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to make a lot of money, and some people hate paying taxes, and I agree to an extent that taxation is theft, and that our system's really corrupt. It's messing up a lot of people. But at the end of the day, it's the system that we're a part of. And so there's a saying in the Bible, right? So give unto Caesar what is due, right? So we got to look at that, like our government, even though they may be corrupt, we have to kind of play the game until we break free from the game. And so, paying taxes is something that's important to do. So that's why I say get a side business, figure out the loopholes on how you can pay the least amount of taxes. That's how you gamify the system. But yeah, I'd have to say, let's stick with the legal stuff for now.
What would you say is the most common financial mistake that people make?
Ooh, that's a good one. Living beyond your means, right? So I know a lot of six-figure earners that are still broke as a joke, that are still living paycheck to paycheck, because what they're doing is, as their income expands, so does their lifestyle. Their lifestyle expands to meet their income. There's many, many, many wealthy people out there that teach to live within your means, which means live a comfortable life, but don't maximize where your income is. Maximize your lifestyle to meet your income, because at the end of the day, man, you could be making $500,000 a year, but you have a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, a Maserati, and you have a big $1 million home, and you're still living paycheck to paycheck, trying to scrape up the funds to pay your bills. So just live within your means. Don't outlive your income.
Why is financial literacy seems to be something that's lacked in America, especially in Middle America?
Because the schools don't teach financial literacy. The system that we live in wants to keep the poor man poor and keep the rich man rich, and they want to create a separation and a divide between them as far as they can, because that creates disunity, that creates division, and the more division they have, the more control that they have. And so they don't teach it in school. They don't teach you in school how to run a business. They teach you how to work for somebody that runs a business. They don't teach you how to manage your finances. They barely teach you how to register and balance your checkbook, but they'll go ahead and teach you some crazy math calculations that you'll never ever use in life, or they'll teach you how to bake a cake in home economics, but they won't teach you how to break out of the system and live free. So number one, it's the school system that holds us back, the education system. Unless you figure out and you learn on yourself how to break out of that mindset of being just an employee, moving from, Robert Kiyosaki has an amazing book, The 4 Cash Flow Quadrants, breaking out from how to be an employee to being a self-employed, from self-employed to being a business owner, from a business owner to being an investor. The end goal is to be an investor, making your investments work for you. And so right now we have to just break out of the employee mindset to figure out, hey, how can I be self-employed? And then we go from self-employed to owning a business, employing others.
So since schools are not teaching financial literacy, would you recommend for someone to go to college, or is it a waste of time?
In my personal opinion, I think the majority of college is a waste of time. Yeah. Even the billionaire Elon Musk said college is a joke these days. Now, unless you have a clear, direct path to either becoming a doctor or a lawyer or some type of career that you know for sure that's going to get you to the place you want to get to, 80 to 90% of people that graduate college never even use their degree. So they end up working some other side job or getting in some other career that they never ever intended on, because number one, when you get out of college, you can't get a job without the experience, but you can't get the experience without a job. So it's like you're a rock in a hard place,
Tell me about it. One thing that you said that I wrote down, the more division they have, the more control they have. That's powerful right there.
Powerful.
And I would say in the Black community, I say this a lot in the Black community, I think we're one of the most divided communities in America. And that might be a reason why we are where we are as far as the social status.
Sure. Yeah, I would say we're divided across all racial aspects, right?
Yes.
I do believe that. See, I grew up, 90% of my friends were African American or Spanish, and so I grew up living and eating alongside of my brothers and sisters. And so, I saw the struggle real life, but I also went through the struggle as well. And so I believe that when you say a certain community is more divided than others. I think that's true, but I think the system tries to push that narrative even further, and they do it with politics too, right? Politics, they try to separate classes and divide colors of skin and divide languages and gender because, again, it comes back to the more divided you are, the more control that they have, and the more you can become their puppets and they can control your life. So, yeah, I agree with you, man. We're all divided. We need to come together.
I agree.
Is if things are peaceful amongst people, wouldn't it be easier to control where there's peace rather when there's calamity or confusion or destruction?
I don't know, man. I think where there is more harmony and peace and a rhythm, I think it's not as easy to control because when we're one-minded, when we come together as a community and we are in sync with one another, man, we are powerful. We're powerful. The government is small. The people that control the narratives are small. See, us people, our communities, we're large numbers. If we can come together and agree on certain terms, we can change the whole world. We can turn the system on top of itself. But we just have to find that common ground to stand upon, that common ground to come and say, hey, listen, we need to take charge of our own lives now because what they're doing isn't working. We need to figure out another way. That's just my opinion. I think it's happened. I think civilization has a cyclical cycle, right? Every 250 years to 500 years, a civilization rises and a civilization falls. We've seen it in the Roman Empire. You can go back in history and you can see a civilization rise up to the top and then crash. And I think we're at the point where we're probably going to end up crashing soon if we don't get some things right. And so what happens when you crash? You get to start over. And then you build from scratch, and then you're unified. But there's a point where you're going to become divided again. It's just that circle of life that happens.
What would you say has been the most impactful book that you've read?
I'd say number one is probably, aside from the Bible, right? Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich is a powerful, powerful book. It talks about the mindset. Right? If you change your mindset, your entire life will change. So that's a powerful one. Think and Grow Rich. There's a book by my business coach and mentor, Patrick Bet-David, called Your Next.
You know him?
That's my coach. Yeah, that's my mentor.
You know him? You know Patrick Bet-David?
I was just at his house last week.
Bro, Paul, you remember the roommates? Is he what's his ethnicity again?
Yeah, he just did a podcast with those guys, right?
Well, what's his ethnicity?
He's from Iran.
Remember the Middle Eastern? Yeah, that's his mentor. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I was just at his mansion, his $24 million mansion last week, and we got mentorship for me and like 60 other agents. We got personal mentorship for him. I'm a part of his business, his insurance agency, People Helping People, and so that's where we're rocking with them right now, and that's my coach, man. So he has a book called Your Next 5 Moves. Highly recommend you guys get it and read it. It talks about setting up your life, thinking about your next 5 moves.
Wow, it's a small world.
Small world, man.
Oh, look at God. And we're about to go on a fast soon. You tell me that's a coincidence? Wow.
That's awesome.
Oh, man. Sorry.
I love it.
My head is a scam. So what are some of the best ways to combat inflation? I saw that you talked about that. Inflation's up over 7% now, which is pretty insane. So how can the average American combat that?
Yeah, man, it really depends on where you're at in your economical situation, right? So if you have money to go around and you want to save money and you want to grow it at the same time, obviously we deal with life insurance products, but there's a specific product within life insurance that allows you to save your money, grow it at the same time, and become tax-free income for the rest of your life. It's called an index universal life insurance policy. The IRS allows anybody to put money inside of a life insurance policy as long as it's stacked up against a little bit of life insurance. You can put tax-free dollars in there, it will grow at usually a rate between 7 to 10% interest on an annual basis. It rides the market, but it's not in the market. So if the S&P goes up 15%, you're going to capture majority of those gains. But if the market crashes, there's something called a 0% floor, which never allows you to lose. It's the only product out there that has a floor that doesn't allow your money to go down. Your money only goes up. And so if you have some money to go around, you know, we have clients putting in, I have one client next week putting in $100,000. And so that's going to grow to $2.7 million by the time he's 80 years old, just from 100,000 one time. And so then I have clients putting in $200 a month. Really depends on your level. But if you have extra money, start sticking it away in something that's actually going to grow with compound interest. Einstein says compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Those who understand it earn it. Those who don't understand it pay it. And we end up paying it through credit cards and car loans and student loans and all that different stuff. But if you can figure out how to use it to your advantage, you can grow it. So that's definitely one way to outpace inflation. Get your money somewhere where it's going to grow with compound interest for the long haul, for the next 15, 20, 30 years. And you'll be set for the rest of your life.
Wow.
You said for the next 15, 20 years, if God forbid one doesn't make it, it would just roll over to next of kin, right?
Correct. So there's different ways that you can structure it. That's why you have to sit down with somebody that knows what they're talking about. We specialize in these type of products, but you can structure it so that your cash value builds and your death benefits build at the same time. And let's say 20 years from now, you have, you know, $100,000 in your cash value because it's been compounding. You have another $100,000 in your death benefits. Both your cash value and death benefits will roll over to your beneficiary. So there's different ways to structure it, but life insurance, guys, that's one thing that the underserved communities need to learn more about. That's one thing that I wish I knew when I was growing up, when I was hanging out with my friends in high school and college. Life insurance is the only product that will pay you dollars for pennies, right? You're putting pennies in, but it pays you dollars on the back end. And it's the only product that you can successfully change the next generation. If I give you a life insurance product, and let's just say you guys are young, we'll just say, you know, just for hypothetical reasons, a term policy, I can get you a $800 to $1 million term policy for anywhere between $75 and $100 a month. Let's just say you keep that for the next 30 years. God forbid something were to happen to you within 30 years. Your beneficiary, whether it's your parents or your children, if you have children, they'll be an instant millionaire. Instant millionaire, because that policy is going to pay them out 100% of whatever's in that death benefit. So it's a way to transfer wealth to the next generation. People need to understand it's more than just death benefits, because you can also use it while you're alive too. But man, if anybody can learn anything, learn about life insurance, man. It'll change people's lives.
I love that you mentioned passing it on to the next generation, because in the Black community, that's a big thing where they love to talk about generational wealth. And you just mentioned a big way to do that. So that's
it's one of the best ways. It's one of the best ways, man. It's one of the best ways.
How you mentioned mindset earlier. How important is mindset when it comes to finances?
Oh, that's the most important thing. Because you can be wealthy in your bank account, but you have a broke mindset. You're gonna waste that money, and you're gonna waste it away, and you're gonna be broke again, right? So it's funny, actually. Patrick David again said within the last 2 to 3 years, we've printed more money than we've ever printed in the last 100 years of being a community. And what's going to happen is the government's going to print off all this money to the poor and middle class, but that money's going to end up in the richest pocket, in the rich people's pocket once again, because they know how to manage money. When we get a stimulus check for $1,800, what do we do with that stimulus check? We go out and buy new J's. We go out and buy a flat screen TV. We go buy a PlayStation 5. We go put that money into new rims on our car. But the wealthy, they go ahead and stock it away into an investment account. They put it into their IRA. They put it into their life insurance policy. They begin to compound it. And then the second thing that they do is they leverage their assets to buy more assets. So with life insurance, you can loan against your cash value, and you can go use it to purchase additional assets, baseball cards, Pokemon cards if you're into that, gold, go buy another house, right? It doesn't matter what the asset is, as long as you can eventually get more money for it. That's what the wealthy do all day long, but middle class doesn't know about that. We don't know about that stuff. So mindset is super important. How do you get a better mindset? Read more books. My dad taught me at a young age, he who reads leads. He who reads leads. If the more books you read, the more you're going to be looked at as a leader in your community.
Wow, so many bars, man. I'm so happy we had this conversation.
That's what I do. I'm just playing. No, man. I read a lot, and I've had the privilege of having some good coaches and mentors in my life, and so they've been pouring into me their bars and their nuggets and all that stuff, and so I'm taking it in and I'm just regurgitating it out, you know.
In regards to something I always hear is a mindset change, and it's always easier said than done. What's the first step? How does one unlearn something that they knew for 20, 25, 30 years and take the necessary steps so their mind will change? Because with change, it's so easy to fall back into what you know or what you thought you knew.
Such a good question, man. Such a good question. So there's 3 areas that you need to start working on immediately. Number 1 is the people you surround yourself with. I could be boys with somebody my entire life, but if he is weighing me down and holding me back with a negative mindset, a broke mindset, a poor mentality, he's going to hold me back for the rest of my life. So we need to be careful and be leery of the people we surround ourselves with, even if it's family. So number 1, look at the people you're surrounding yourself with. And if you have to cut some ties and distance yourself, that's the number 1 thing you got to get in line. Number 2, the books we read, we just talked about that. The books you read, even if you're in the slums right now and you are living in the back seat of your car, go to Barnes & Noble and get a few books on mindset and leadership development. Learn how to do things differently. That's going to change your entire life. And just do your homework. Just read as much as you possibly can. And then number 3 is the events you attend, believe it or not. So if you can afford getting to a motivational event, an inspirational event, a business networking meeting, go to those events, because what's going to happen is you're going to grow by proximity. You know what that means? It means by the people you surround yourself in that room, things are going to rub off on you. There's going to be an impartation, and you're going to level up just by being around them. So, for instance, I went to Pat's $24 million estate in Boca Raton, Florida. It was cool and all, but the biggest takeaway for me was me walking onto that property and seeing that it's possible. Now my identity is higher than it was before I got there, just because I was able to rub shoulders with those wealthy people, you know? So if you're able to do that, friends, books, and the events that you attend, those 3 things will change your life.
Would you say those 3 things are the secret to success?
I would, absolutely. And you know, 2 out of the 3 are, you know, probably free at this point, right? Changing your friendships is free. It doesn't cost you anything. Getting books, we have Google, man. Google gives you free education. Look on YouTube. Google such and such audiobook on YouTube. I guarantee you it's there. Or some PDF is sitting online in somebody's website. And then, you know, you may pay a little bit to get to an event, but by all means, do whatever you can to get to that event. It'll change your life.
Sure, we gotta talk about some events with Patrick Bet David. What you talking about, man? So you got so much, man. I can't even keep up. I can't even keep up. So what keeps you going on the days that you don't want to, you know, be the best version of yourself?
Yeah, it happens often, believe it or not. And we cracked 6 figures this year in our business, and I've never made that much in my entire life. So it's all new to me. But the thing that keeps me going is my 6 kids. My 6 kids, my wife, and I have a grandkid now. So my oldest is 25. She had a baby, and so I have a 2-year-old grandbaby running around the house. And I'm fairly young. I'm only 40. Never would have thought in a million years I'd have a grandkid, but you know, God saw fit to put him in my life, and so here we are. So me waking up every day thinking I have to hustle, I have to make this happen for my kids, because I want to give my kids the life that they deserve. And it's not about the flashy cars and the houses and all that stuff, although that will come. It's about giving my family the ability to choose what they want to do when they wake up. If I had to go to a 9 to 5, that's not me choosing, that's me having to do it to survive. So there's another TikTok I did just a few days ago of maybe it was, I don't know who it was, maybe Rick Ross said something, but he said basically we go to work because we have to. We don't go to work because we want to. But when you can find something you love to do, you never work another day in your life.
Wow. And you also mentioned how, growing by proximity, that's one of the reasons why I started the podcast, to interview people like you, to just help me take in the knowledge and grow from the things that you say.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you mentioned that. Wow.
Yeah.
A 25-year-old man, no sense of direction, but he knows that he wants to be financially free. What is the step-by-step plan that you would give him?
Find a mentor.
Where does one find a mentor?
Find a mentor. That comes with surrounding yourself with the right people. So if you get out of your circle of broke friends and you get into a circle of wealthy friends, of people that are already have success in their lives, started businesses, are into entrepreneurship, or into taking their life to the next level, you're going to inevitably bump into somebody that's doing what you want to do. And it's just making that connection. It's befriending them. And here's the thing. When you meet somebody that's doing what you want to do and you can get something from them, never approach them and ask. Always approach them and give. What does that mean? Offer value to them. What can you give to them that will make their life better? In return, they'll reciprocate that energy and they'll want to give something back to you. So Gary Vee talks about this a lot. He has a really good book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And the premise of the book is give, 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 and then ask for the sale. But you can use that in your everyday life. When you're looking for a mentor, find somebody you want to lock onto. How can you promote what they're doing? How can you connect people to them? How can you add value to their life? They're going to see that, they're going to catch on to that, and they're going to want to give that back to you. So number one, find a mentor without a doubt. And then the other 3 things we talked about is get yourself away from the broke friends, get some good books under your belt, and find out some good events that you can attend, or get plugged in with some company that has some type of good program that you can learn from.
We spoke to a lot of successful people, and that's something that's common that we hear is get a mentor, somebody to lead you. And you mentioned Gary Vee. That's someone that I really looked up to and follow, and would love to interview one day because he's phenomenal.
Yep. How do you do that? How do you do that? Find somebody that you want to coach you, mentor you, pour into your life. If they're on social media, blow up their comments by agreeing with them, engaging with them. Be the first one to comment on their posts so that when they go back and look, your name pops up. Shoot them DMs on how you can add value to their life, right? You almost stalk them in a way, but in a healthy way, right? You don't want to annoy them, but find them on LinkedIn, find them on Instagram, find them on TikTok. Be their biggest cheerleader, their biggest supporter. You never know. Somebody might end up reaching out to you and helping you. Guys, we're one person away from changing the rest of our life. One relationship, one contact away from changing our entire family's life. I believe that with all my heart.
Wow. Prolific words, man. Wow. Well, that is all I have for you today. Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time. My goodness. Praise the Lord. Am I right?
My pleasure.
Whoa.
Blown.
OD.